Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. One Piece. I am Six Eyes Sukuna, the strongest one. Chapter 21. The money was so much that it was lost. I lost all my 60 million Baileys in one go. Scam. This is definitely a scam. Ha ha ha. I made 80 million Baileys with my 1 million Baileys. I'm so lucky today. I'm going to max it out this time. Quote. Looking at all kinds of equipment, Miguel was a little confused for a while. Boss, with so many projects, which one should we go for with a higher probability of winning? Probability. If there was really a project with a higher probability of winning, it would have been discovered long ago, so it wouldn't be their turn. Kurosawa didn't say anything, and a hot-dressed girl came over. Gentlemen, what do you want to play? Let's compare size. Kurosawa responded. Okay, sir, we have just launched a hot size comparison project in Venice recently. You must be very interested. Please follow me. Although Kurosawa and his two friends were not dressed like rich people, the girl still had a warm smile on her face. This was the first time she had seen a handsome guy like Kurosawa, and his blue eyes made her fall in love with him at a glance. There are many hotels next to Venice, and the girl even looked forward to getting off work. It's not the girl's fault. After all, even Gion can't resist Kurosawa's charm. Led by the girl, the two soon came to a place full of people. I don't believe I'm so unlucky. 4,000 W Bailey. I bet on big. Hee hee, stinky old man, you're going to lose everything today. 3,000 W Bailey. I bet on small. 2 million Bailey. I bet on big. Beside the bustling table, Kurosawa's eyes condensed and he saw a familiar white-haired figure, but this figure who once dominated the sea didn't seem to have much luck today. Interesting, that's it. Looking at what Kurosawa pointed at, the girl was obviously stunned for a moment, and then said, "Excuse me, sir, this project starts with 1 million Baileys." Hearing this, Miguel unconsciously tightened his wallet. He worked diligently in the Navy, and saved only 100,000 Baileys at most. As for the pirates caught this morning, sorry, the bounty has not been paid yet. So Miguel was a little embarrassed at the moment. Boss, I only have 80,000 Baileys on me. Kurosawa was not panicked. Don't worry, I can afford it. The girl's eyes lit up when she saw this. Could this man be a low-key rich guy? Then she had to serve well. Okay, sir. This way please. Boss, are you a hidden rich second generation? Under Miguel's puzzled gaze, Kurosawa took out 17 million Baileys from somewhere, and Miguel suddenly realized it. Kurosawa. 1,708 W Bailey, put it all in. What? Miguel's eyes widened. He was just going all in. Luckily, he kept 2 W Bailey, otherwise, if he lost, wouldn't he be out of money? The girl was obviously a little shocked, but she didn't say anything, just did it. Boss, bet big or small? Kurosawa didn't say anything, just glanced at the cylinder made of special material. Big. Boss, I believe you. After a struggle, Miguel's eyes regained firmness. Buy and leave. Open. 52 points. As one person opened the market, various voices rang out. I lost all my 20 million Baileys. It's a blast. I made 13 million Baileys this time. Here comes the advanced bubble bath. Miguel was stunned when he saw the result, and then he clenched his fists. Boss, you are awesome. You really bet right. Even the girl couldn't help but sigh that Kurosawa was really lucky. Kurosawa pushed his hands. Continue, all bets, full. Hiss, Miguel took a breath, all in again. Boss, don't you consider keeping a bottom line? The girl frowned at this and felt that Kurosawa was too arrogant. Good luck once is enough, and you still want good luck to always be there. However, when the points opened, buy and leave, open, 76 points. Boss, you are awesome. Miguel said excitedly, and he felt that the blood in his body was boiling. The girl looked at Kurosawa with a strange look in her eyes. Isn't this luck? Kurosawa just smiled faintly. As long as he wants, the points in the barrel are visible at a glance. Continue, all bets are big, full. With Kurosawa's domineering push, some guests who noticed Kurosawa's winning streak also began to follow. Follow, 2 million Baileys. All follow 3 million Baileys. Buy and leave. Open. 61 big. It's amazing. Little brother, your luck is really good. But you must have used up so many consecutive wins. I'm going to buy the opposite of you in the next game. The others also said so. Kurosawa said nothing. Continue, all. Before he could say anything, he was interrupted by Miguel. Boss, can you give me some so that I can show off? Kurosawa threw 30 million Baileys to Miguel. Looking at so many Baileys, Miguel even breathed a little faster. Kurosawa. Go ahead, all bets are big. Miguel's eyes widened when he saw this, and he leaned close to Kurosawa's ear and whispered, Boss, 3 consecutive bets are big, is this bet still safe? Kurosawa said lightly, it's guaranteed. Hearing this, Miguel also felt confident. He quietly took out the 2W Bailey hidden in his pocket and joined in. He also pushed with both hands like Kurosawa. Bet big, give me full. The opening result was naturally big, and Kurosawa and Miguel could be said to have made a lot of money. This scene made the guide girl feel itchy. If it weren't for Venice's regulations, she would have come up with it no matter what. I'm rich, boss. Miguel smiled excitedly. Kurosawa, who was advancing rapidly, attracted more people's attention, and those who followed the rhythm made a lot of money. But some people were happy and some were sad. A white-haired old man in the corner had lost 8 bets in a row, and he was even so drunk that he just signed a contract to sell himself. We can't lose this time. After observing for a long time, Rayleigh made up his mind and resolutely walked to Kurosawa's side. Boy, I think you are extraordinary and you must be able to accomplish great things. I have a domineering secret book here. As long as you tell me the next point size, I will reluctantly give it to you. Ding. The host's current situation is detected. Please make a life choice. Life choice 1. Facing the request of Pluto Rayleigh, you who respect the elderly and love the young can't bear to see him being sold to the auction and decide to rescue him and tell him the correct point size. Reward. The anger of the Venice boss, postpartum care of sows, X1. Life choice 2. Seeing Rayleigh's sincere eyes, you smiled slightly and decided to tell Rayleigh the wrong point size, so that the old man can understand what it means to be a fool's errand, and then quickly run away. Reward. Famous sword, and supreme great sword level. Life choice 3. What is postpartum care for sows? Rayleigh, this old man, is really bad. Kurosawa made his choice with just one look, but what is meant by, you can't judge a person by his appearance. He is clearly carrying out the justice in his heart as always. It's definitely not for that supreme sword. After 9 years of keeping a low profile, Kurosawa has perfectly inherited the excellent qualities of the flower growers. How could he bear to watch an elderly man like Rayleigh continue to degenerate in Venice? He is clearly willing to sacrifice himself to help the old man who has gone astray to quit gambling. System, you have misunderstood me too much. Old man, just bet big later, I guarantee you will make a lot of money. Kurosawa looked at Rayleigh and said with a smile. Rayleigh looked suspicious when he heard this. Boy, will you win this time? Kurosawa smiled. You will win. But Miguel beside him always felt something was wrong when he saw his boss's smile, but he didn't think too much about it. He pushed his hands and bet all his earnings. He was so fast that even Kurosawa didn't have time to stop him. 200 million Baileys, bet big, give me full. Seeing that Kurosawa's brothers had bet, Rayleigh didn't doubt him and directly bet everything he had. Come on, bet big for me. The others followed suit. However, when Kurosawa made his move, he didn't think of betting as much as before, but only bet 500 million Baileys. Everyone suddenly felt panic in their hearts, and before they could find Kurosawa in the crowd, the opening time had arrived. Buy and leave. Open. 28 points small. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly solidified. The result was too much. Rayleigh looked at the result in disbelief, and rubbed his glasses and eyes again, but the result was still the same. So a young man actually cheated me. Did he know that I gave him postpartum care of sows? Quote. He turned around and wanted to find Kurosawa, but he was nowhere to be seen. You little brat who even cheated an old man, remember this. Rayleigh was so angry that he stretched out his hands helplessly and was shackled. The man who handcuffed Rayleigh didn't expect that he would cooperate so actively. In the past, those who blocked his body usually made a big fuss. Well, it's easier. What the guards didn't expect was that Rayleigh was already familiar with this process, and it wasn't the first time he signed a contract to sell himself. As for why he could still stay in Venice, haha. In the chaotic Sabayati archipelago, a place like Venice might not exist the next day. The Pluto is permanent, but the casinos are changing. There will be one less place to go in the future. Rayleigh looked at Venice reluctantly, sighing in his heart. At this time, Kurosawa had brought the remaining 800 million Baileys to the outside of Venice. These Baileys are enough for the boss lady and others to be rich for a while. If they really rely on the meager salary of the Navy, it will probably not take long for D to become B. Kurosawa couldn't accept this thought. Miguel was still in a state of confusion, just because Kurosawa dragged him at an amazing speed. Boss, why are you leaving before the game is closed? Kurosawa didn't answer, but threw a heavy object to Miguel, then glanced at the moon in the sky. The moonlight is beautiful, but there are still many evil people who threaten other people's lives in places like bubble baths. Miguel took the object, and then his expression became serious. Well said, boss. It's a dark and windy night, it's the time to give evil a head-on blow. After that, the two of them headed for the most evil place. This trip, in order to implement the justice of the Navy. Even if it exhausts the blood, it will go all out. The night passed quickly, and many new faces landed on the island one after another. The sun rose as usual, but today, it is destined not to be peaceful. Ah, Kurosawa stretched his body. The evil last night was too strong, even he could hardly resist it. Miguel came out in high spirits. Kurosawa was surprised. Why are you so energetic? Miguel was puzzled. It is indeed very clean. After a night of massage, I feel that all the meridians in my body are clear. It is worthy of the supreme level. Kurosawa glared. Just massage all night. Miguel frowned. Yes, aren't you, boss? The blue eyes flashed with a gleam of light. It was flickering, and just as Kurosawa was hesitating whether to use the great memory clearing technique. Boom! A violent roar came from a distance. Something is happening. Miguel's expression became serious, and Kurosawa also looked in the direction of the roar. I saw a guy with braids on his head and extremely long arms jumping around on the roof, and behind him, a group of guys who looked like security guards were chasing him. Who is this guy? Miguel stared at the man, and the picture on the wanted poster flashed through his mind. The strange shape, Kurosawa looked at it for a while, and it overlapped with a pirate in his memory. Could it be the supernova who played the DJ with a sonic boom? As for the name, sorry, I can't remember it. How could this guy appear here? In this case, doesn't it mean that the celestial dragon incident that shocked the world will break out here today, and the huge war that is about to come? The boss lady and the others are still in Marineford. It seems that I have to hurry up and let them move out of the limelight when I go back. I remember it, Miguel exclaimed, interrupting Kurosawa's thoughts. This guy is Skullachiman AP. A pirate with a bounty of 198 million Baileys. One of the 11 supernovas of the worst era. Miguel was shocked, staring at AP, his hands trembling with excitement or fear. Ding! The host's current situation has been detected, and a new life choice has been triggered. Life choice 1. Go to execute justice immediately and successfully kill Skullachiman AP. Reward. Kendo LV1. Life choice 2. Ignore it, lead Miguel back to the naval base, and buy a few small 8 takoyaki to take back. Reward. Your comrade's love for you +1. Life choice 3. You feel it's difficult but don't want to miss the bounty, so call for support immediately. Reward. Armament hockey LV1. Hiss. System, can I get 2 rewards at the same time? The host can freely control his own life. The reward is just the reward for the host's hard work. I see. Kurosawa smiled. He already understood the correct use of the system. Took out the Den Den Mushi from his arms. Area 2. You led everyone to assemble quickly, remember, bring guns. Looking at Kurosawa's actions, Miguel couldn't help asking, Boss, are you going to do something to this guy? Why, are you scared? Looking at the smile on Kurosawa's mouth, Miguel became extremely excited. He realized that Kurosawa was definitely going to do something. It's just a pirate with 198 million Baileys, how could I be afraid of him? Afraid. He, Miguel, is a man who is going to become a Navy admiral. Kurosawa looked at Miguel and smiled slightly. Next time there is a chance, he will let this kid hone his skills, and then his figure disappeared on the spot. Huh, Aren't you waiting for their support? Miguel shouted at Kurosawa, who had already appeared in the air. After a moment of stunned silence, Miguel jumped up and followed. Boss, you are going to fight a pirate with 198 million Baileys alone. That's a supernova. Boss, wait for me. Still chasing? How much work will you have to do? You are so desperate. Apu glanced at the group of people behind him, then turned around and knocked on his chest with both hands. Battle music. Start. The harsh disc sound exploded, and invisible sound waves swept out, causing violent explosions on the people chasing. Most of the pursuers were killed with one move, and the remaining half were too scared to move forward. Apu smiled crookedly and turned around, but was almost blinded by the dazzling red light. What? Spell reversal. Ha! Boom! Under the horrified gaze of the onlookers, the red light exploded after shining to its peak, and a figure was blown to the ground. What is that? Artillery fire. Is it a new weapon? A red cannon. So powerful. Power. A figure wearing a navy cloak fell to the ground. Kurosawa's eyes looked through the smoke and dust, staring coldly at Apu lying in the pit. The instantaneous power of he is really different from the full version of the spell chanting. One shot only broke half of the arm. If Miguel heard this, he would be speechless. Brother, you are a sergeant in the Navy. You broke the arm of a supernova with a bounty of 198 million Baileys as soon as you met him. Is this reasonable? Seeing Kurosawa's appearance, the onlookers talked about it. What a young Marine. And so handsome. He looks like a sergeant, right? Is he rich enough to equip sergeants with such high-powered lethal weapons now? At this time, a lieutenant in the Navy rushed to the scene. What's going on? What's the situation with the explosion here? Sergeant, come here and explain it to me. The broken arm was broken, and the broken arm was broken. Ah, my hand. Apu climbed up tremblingly, blood gushing out of his broken arm. Who are you, kid? He was horrified and waited until he saw that the badge on Kurosawa's shoulder was just a sergeant, and he felt even more unbelievable. How can a mere naval sergeant have such skills? I'm a supernova. Hey, I'm asking you a question. I'm Lieutenant Kurid. You don't respond to the commander's orders. I don't care which formation you are from. Kurid on the side was still chattering, and Kurosawa was too lazy to respond. He just quietly released a ray of domineering aura towards him accurately. Boom! Instantly, Groot took 2 steps back, and his eyes looked at Kurosawa with awe. You. The smoke and dust slowly dissipated, and Groot's eyes turned, and his expression suddenly changed. You are Skulachiman Apu, known as the supernova of the worst era. Bounty of 198 million Baileys. Unconsciously, Groot's voice became trembling, and his steps retreated repeatedly. This level of pirates is not something a small lieutenant like him can afford to provoke. At least, he has to send a commodore to deal with it. In fact, ordinary commodores are really not the opponent of Apu now. The onlookers were also terrified after hearing what Gurud said. What? This guy is a member of the evil era. They are all devils who kill without blinking an eye. Not only that, I even heard that wherever the evil era passed, no grass grew and even children couldn't cry. What's wrong with this mere sergeant? How did he provoke such a dangerous person? Gurud was sweating profusely. He had already greased his feet and was ready to run away at any time. Under the 360-degree perception of the 6 eyes against the sky, everyone's voices were heard by Kurosawa. Is it dangerous? Maybe. I just don't know if the LV2 Unlimited technique can withstand the sonic explosion of this guy. If it can't be blocked and he explodes in the head, with his current level of reversal technique, there is a high probability that he will die. But that only exists in experimental situations. As Kurosawa expected, from the long-distance observation and close-range confrontation just now, it is impossible for Apu to kill him now. If that level of sonic wave attack could hit Kurosawa, his 6 eyes would be wasted. Sergeant Wuming, you are great. I will call for reinforcements, you hold on. Kurosawa ignored the fleeing Jiro, and Apu's attention was not on such a deserter either. Ranpan cut. Seeking a certain opportunity, Apu's body suddenly jumped into the air, and at the same time, the only remaining palm also bounced towards the chest. Bursts of invisible sonic waves shot out, and Apu's face showed a triumphant smile. The ability of his devil fruit attack is invisible, and many opponents have been cut in half by him before they even figured out what happened. Judging from the reaction of this kid, it is probably the same. Die. Apu showed a grim smile on his face, as if he had seen the scene of Kurosawa being cut in half. However, the next second, Kurosawa's figure disappeared just before the sonic wave slash was about to come. What's going on? Apu was shocked. A figure appeared above his head like a ghost. Crack. Kuro sensed the place where he was just now. The sound wave cut through like a knife, and even the hard bricks were cut by it. It was quite powerful. Seeing this, Kurosawa no longer hesitated, raised his long legs high, aimed at Apu's head, and then slammed down with a kick containing Kang and Haishin. Boom! Apu's body was blasted into the ground again. The difference was that this time he quickly got up again and launched several sound wave explosions at Kurosawa. Pang! Boom! Pang! Boom! Apu, whose whip was a little messy on his head, launched a series of explosions, which made him panting, but he didn't even touch Kurosawa's hair. How can this guy be so fast? Mr. Apu, we are coming. A shout came from a distance, and a large number of pirates swarmed in. Apu was shocked and angry, but he finally calmed down after hearing his subordinates' shouts. After all, he was a pirate with a bounty of nearly 200 million. He quickly began to analyze. This guy is very fast and I can't do anything with him. Fortunately, although he is fast, his strength is not that great. At the beginning, that intimidating move. It seems that the powerful moves can only be used once. Quote, "You can't die." Thinking of this, Apu was relieved. In his opinion, the Marines in front of him had no means to kill him. Kurosawa's figure flashed to the side. Looking at Apu, who was still able to attack, he knew that the kick just now did not cause much damage to him. It's really not easy for a guy to become a supernova. If it was Miguel, he would probably be lying dead. Alas, is my physique too weak after all? This guy's men also rushed over. I can't play like this anymore. There is no way, I can only kill him in seconds. Apu, who was facing a great enemy, kept staring at Kurosawa. After meeting the latter's eyes, he felt something was wrong. But when he thought of his brothers behind him, he would let them stay to block the damage. He didn't believe he could do anything to him. What's your name? It shouldn't be an unknown person who can beat me like this. Quote, Hazy did not answer, but just curled his lips, stretched out a finger, and the dazzling red light flashed again. Apu was scared to death when he saw this. He didn't want to experience the power of this move again. Boom! The sound wave and the sound wave exploded at the same time, and the field was filled with dust and smoke again. Apu lost his sight in the smoke and dust, and jumped up to move to a place where he could see clearly, but a cold light suddenly flashed. The cold light quickly magnified in Apu's eyes. At the moment of life and death, he tried his best to avoid it, but the price was the only arm left. It was still Lao Nuo's slash that was fast. With a flash of his figure, Hazy had already arrived in front of Apu. Spare my life, I'm willing to do anything. Quote, under the latter's terrified gaze, his vision spun around. Apu's head even flew out of the area covered by smoke and dust, drawing a beautiful parabola in the air before landing on the ground with a thud. This scene was seen by Miguel, who arrived in time. Boss, you're alone. Mr. Apu, we're here. You hold on. Without even a moment of mourning for Apu's death, an unknown pirate rushed to the scene. At the same time, in an auction in Area 1, several people who would shock the world in the future gathered. Congratulations to Mr. Charles Saint for bidding for the mermaid at a price of 500 million Baileys. The battle was won, and the battle was won. Miguel looked at Kurosawa in shock. Even though he knew that Kurosawa was very strong, he didn't expect Kurosawa to be so strong. Looking at Kurosawa walking out of the smoke unscathed, all of Ap's efforts couldn't even stain the white cloak of justice with a speck of dust. Miguel couldn't help but open his mouth wide. He actually killed the pirate alone, and even without any damage. That's a supernova. If it was Vice Admiral Huo Shaoshan, could he do this? Stop being in a daze, come to work. Kurosawa's reminder brought Miguel back to reality. Okay, boss, you've worked hard, leave these guys to me. Clang. Miguel drew his saber and blocked the pirates who were rushing over. Due to the obstruction of vision, Apu's men had not yet realized that their captain had gone west. Reward. Armament Hockey LV1 Kendo LV1 have been issued. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the first kill of a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million. The additional bounty value is 10,000 points. Listening to the sound of the bounty value constantly arriving, Kurosawa felt extremely happy. Normal bounty value. 7,400. Billion level bounty value. 29,800 points. Looking at the remaining bounty value, Kurosawa has never felt so rich. This wave of supreme bubble bath is really worth it. After working so hard for so long, it's time to reap the fruits of my persistence and hard work. With a slight smile, he opened the system panel, and Kurosawa finally locked the target after looking at so many skills. System, give me some points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for injecting 3,000 points of ordinary bounty value. The technique is reversed and upgraded to LV2. Ding. Congratulations to the host for injecting 3,000 points of ordinary bounty value. The natural fighter is upgraded to LV2. There are 1,400 ordinary bounty values left, and no skills can be added. After a little thought, Kurosawa decided not to use the billion level bounty value to inject into ordinary skills. Ding. Congratulations to the host for injecting 10,000 billion level bounty value. The 6 eyes against the sky are upgraded to LV3. Continue. Ding. Congratulations to the host for injecting 10,000 billion level bounty value. The technique is reversed and upgraded to LV3. As the most powerful means of output at present, the upgrade order of the technique reversal he is naturally ranked first. Before the technique of Lao Nuo resolution evolved into the slash that cuts off the world, its power was still a little weak. That's it. Normal bounty value. 1,400. Billion level bounty value. 9,800 points. Why is this Apu so useless? He is only 200 points away from upgrading the natural fighter to LV3. The natural fighter can perfectly combine and use all the skills of the same level. The blessing of Kurosawa's combat power by the natural fighter is self-evident. Boss, just watch my performance. After Miguel finished speaking, he raised his sword and performed the razor charge to kill. Kurosawa did not make a move after adding points. In the one-on-many melee, I believe Miguel can absorb a lot of experience from it. The war on the top is about to start. At that time, it will all depend on the breakthrough on the battlefield. In order to make it easier for the pirates to surround and kill Miguel, Kurosawa condensed a blue General App's body into a ball while no one was watching, and then kicked it into the garbage dump. It seems I have to hurry up to get more bounty points. In the war at the top, even the Vice Admiral was killed like a dog. With his current strength, I am afraid that he will not be much better. He can barely protect himself. It is not easy to find a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million, but there is a group of the evil era on this island now. Kurosawa smiled slightly. He couldn't wait for Luffy to make a fuss. The movement at that time would attract all the evil era. As for why they didn't arrest them directly, sorry, I really don't know the way. Who remembers so much after reading comics? Besides, remembering is one thing, and coming here is another. There is no evil map navigation here. Turning his attention to Miguel's battle. At this time, Miguel had only rushed out for a minute, and he was already injured. It must be said that to be able to stand out and become a supernova in the first half of the Grand Line, a small fish must have some strength, at least not as harmless as ordinary shrimps. Miguel was surrounded and then attacked in turns with a rhythm, except for killing nearly 10 pirates by surprise at the beginning. Even an excellent student in the training camp like Miguel felt a huge pressure. If Miguel hadn't mastered the iron block, he would have been injured. Why is Mr. Apu gone? Marines, tell me where Mr. Apu is. Otherwise I'll chop you in half. Miguel couldn't stop so many people, and some pirates rushed towards Kurosawa, who just stood there motionless. Seeing that they were ignored like this, the angry pirates chopped at Kurosawa with knives, but the blades stopped only a few centimeters away from Kurosawa and could no longer fall. What is this? Is this guy also a capable person like Mr. Apu? While the pirates were shocked, Kurosawa's attention was not here. His keen perception made him realize that there seemed to be a big commotion on the island. Boom! A violent roar came from somewhere else, followed by several equally violent explosions. When everyone was confused, Kurosawa looked in the direction of the sound. The explosion came from Area 1. If he remembered correctly, there should be an auction there. Could it be? Blah blah blah. Kurosawa's portable Den Mushi rang. Ignoring the blade that was slashing at him, Kurosawa answered the Den Mushi as if nothing had happened. Kurosawa, where are you now? Pirates attacked the celestial dragons at the auction in Area 1. Go to support them quickly. Kurosawa's mouth curled up when he heard this. It's time to live. With a flick of his finger, the pirates surrounding Kurosawa flew off one after another. Under the protection of the unlimited technique, the blood spurted out couldn't even splash on Kurosawa. Miguel, Kurosawa shouted, leapt up to the sky, raised his hand and aimed at Miguel's surroundings. Spell forward Kang. The terrifying blue ball swept around, and directly rolled up all the pirates surrounding Miguel. Done. Boss, Miguel couldn't help but exclaimed, clearing the field with one move. Although he had seen it before, he couldn't help but feel shocked. Kurosawa, are you ready? Miguel, ready for what? Kurosawa, fly up. Miguel, Kurosawa smiled, then raised his hand to control Kang's strength and directly sucked Miguel into his hand. Then his face changed. Oh no, this kid is quite heavy. If he only relied on the physical blessing brought by LV1 physical skills, it would really take a lot of effort for him to bring Miguel over. Fortunately, with Kang's suction, it was relatively easy, but he had to find an opportunity to improve his physical skills level. Boss, what are you doing? Looking at himself hanging in the air, Miguel couldn't help wondering, oh, boss, I wanted to ask just now. Is this the moon step? How come your moon step is so fast? Kurosawa, stop talking nonsense, let's go. Swish. Under the confused gaze of everyone, Kurosawa carried Miguel and flew high in the sky. Mom, he can fly. Is he Superman? The king of the city was in trouble, and the king of the city was in trouble. Holy Land Mary Joa. After listening to the report, Zongguo held his forehead with an ugly face. Is it that kid again? He keeps getting into trouble. What's the situation with that clan? Angering the celestial dragons means sending out a general again. Zongguo also feels helpless that the general level combat power is wasted on such things. The officer next to him replied. According to intelligence, in addition to Straw Hat Luffy, there are more than 5 pirates with bounties of over 100 million, including Eustace Kid and Trafalgar Law, at the scene. Quote. After listening to the report, Borsellino, who was sitting next to him, drank a cup of tea leisurely. Yo, no matter what, we can't not take action when attacking the world's nobles, right? Mr. Sengoku. Hearing the voice, Sengoku turned around in disbelief and looked at Borsellino, who stood up. Could it be that this guy who always knew how to punch in and get off work on time and always thought about asking for leave on weekdays finally got it today? Sengoku was excited. It was great. At this point, Borsellino could finally take on the responsibility. Borsellino, let me go. I'll be back soon. Don't worry. Without any doubt, Sengoku approved it immediately. Borsellino smiled mysteriously, then walked out of the room slowly. At the junction of Area 2 and Area 1, Kurosawa and Miguel flew past quickly. With the help of the 6 eyes that had been upgraded to LV3, they could already fly in the air for a long time. There are still pirates who dare to attack the celestial dragons. What do you think, boss? Miguel was amazed, but suddenly saw a huge rock coming towards them. Boss, be careful. Without Miguel's reminder, Kurosawa carried Miguel in the air and disappeared. In the distance, a figure like a small giant was throwing a boulder, with white wings behind him. Uroge laughed. Did this flying marine dodge? This is the first time I've seen a flying marine. It's really different near the headquarters of the Navy. Miguel fell back to the ground and saw the person who attacked them. His expression was instantly solemn. This guy is a pirate with a bounty of 180 million Baileys, the weird monk Uroge. He is also a supernova called the Worst Generation. Boss. Swallowing the word, heart, Miguel, who was about to remind Kurosawa, immediately felt that he was worrying too much. Kurosawa just killed Scullichi AP without any injury. The bounty of that guy is 18 million Baileys higher than that of the weird monk Uroge. Kurosawa said nothing, but walked towards Uroge silently, his face slightly gloomy. He finally pretended to be cool, but was interrupted by this idiot. Are the people in this pirate world so sick? The admiral of the navy came and didn't run away, and he still had the leisure to attack a small marine like him. But, a bounty of 180 million Baileys. He came to my door on his own. Kuros smiled slightly and chose to forgive Yoroj generously. Ha ha, what did you say? You look young, but you are so arrogant. From what you said, do you want to arrest me as a mere sergeant? Yoroj laughed and obviously didn't take Kurosawa seriously. But this is normal. After all, as a pirate with a bounty of nearly 200 million, he has killed countless navy sergeants. How could he regard Kurosawa as an opponent? Kurosawa didn't answer, but just looked at the guy in front of him coldly. He would never let go of this whopping 18,000 bounty point. What kind of causal reaction does this guy's ability seem to be? Kurosawa couldn't remember it clearly, but he remembered that he would become stronger after being hurt, and this guy looked thick-skinned. Even a supernova like Apu who looked thin could take such a beating. This guy might be even more outrageous. Luffy is still waiting for me to arrest him. I can't waste too much time here. Thinking of this, Kurosawa stretched out a finger, and the technique reversal he, which was upgraded to LV3, suddenly lit up with a shining red light, and the huge curse power instantly surged on the field. Kurosawa's heart moved slightly when he saw this. This upgraded power. The effect seems to be very good. The red light gradually shone. Ulki smiled, raised his fist and rushed towards Kurosawa. Boy, no one is stupid enough to stand there and wait for you to attack. Before he finished speaking, the red ball of light flashed out at such a fast speed. Supernovas like Yurki had no time to react. In the blink of an eye, he had already entered Yurki's body. The next second, Yurki's pupils widened, and the dazzling red light directly engulfed his mountain-like body, and a violent roar resounded throughout the venue. Boom! The wind swept, and the earth trembled. The howling wind even blew Miguel behind Kurosawa back a few steps, but Kurosawa himself had unlimited magic defense and was not affected at all. Is this the move that blew up Lieutenant General Huo Shaoshan? Miguel looked at the sweeping wind in surprise from the gap in his palm. After being knocked unconscious by Kurosawa that day in the training camp, he had not seen the power of the magic reversal he. Now it seems that Lieutenant General Huo Shaoshan who welcomed this attack is indeed a real man. It's a pity that the beard is burned off. The raging smoke and dust did not block Kurosawa's sight. Through the observation of the six eyes against the sky, he could clearly see that Yoroj was lying on the ground gasping for breath, with a bloody chest and a messy breath. He looked seriously injured. The power of the LV3 technique reversal he was just an instantaneous one, which exceeded the maximum output at the beginning. Moreover, it was still 50% improved by the natural fighter, and the speed was much faster. According to Kurosawa's estimation, even the lieutenant generals of the headquarters would not be able to dodge the current he. At least not by burning the mountain. Just when Kurosawa was about to make a finishing blow, a figure with a familiar breath quietly approached within the perception range of the six eyes against the sky. Ding! The host's current situation has been detected, and a new life choice has appeared. Life choice 1. You are extremely confident in your own strength and you kill Yoroj immediately, and kill Basil Hawkins who came at the same time. Reward. Kendo level increased to LV2. Life choice 2. You feel that you are not sure, choose to let Ulki go, and turn around to kill Basil Hawkins who came. Reward. Fighting instinct LV1. Life choice 3. You think now is not the time to show your strength, choose to retreat. Reward. Prestige level reduced to LV1. Looking at the last choice, Kurosawa just laughed. Is there any need to choose this? The battle instinct is a skill that is quite interesting. The effect is that after losing consciousness, including coma, mental retardation, etc., the player can automatically counterattack when in danger. However, this skill is not very practical in Kurosawa's opinion. He already has a system, but he was still knocked unconscious. He might as well give up. Kurosawa raised his hand and slashed at Ulki's neck. Spell release. The extremely sharp slash directly cut off Ulki's neck, which was unable to resist. Wait a minute, sir. Hawkins' voice came from a distance, but it was too late. Looking at Yoroj's head rolling down, Hawkins' eyes were full of doubts. It shouldn't be like this. I saw Yoroj's face today, and he didn't look dead. Kurosawa's eyes fell on Hawkins, and his 6 eyes against the sky felt the strong strange breath emanating from the other party. At this moment, Kurosawa suddenly understood where that familiar feeling came from. Yes, if I remember correctly, Hawkins should have eaten the Superman straw fruit. However, although the scarecrow he produced can bear damage for the main body, it is only a substitute technique after all. Moreover, this substitute technique is not invincible. Once the scarecrow is completely destroyed, the main body will suffer a fatal blow. In this way, the weakness of this fruit is still very obvious. Hawkins's face has become extremely solemn at this time. Since his debut, his divination has never been wrong. But why today? Give me a moment. After saying this, Hawkins ignored Kurosawa and started to divine on the spot. The chance of escaping is 36%. The chance of losing the battle is 87%. The pirates under Hawkins were obviously not as calm as him. Who is that marine? He actually cut off the head of that weird monk Uroge. Is he a marine admiral? Are you an idiot? Didn't you see the shoulder badge on that guy? He's just a sergeant. How is it possible? A mere sergeant can kill Uroge. Quote. Miguel had just recovered from the shock, and his expression became tense again after seeing who was coming. This guy is also one of the supernovas of the evil era. Basil Hawkins. The bounty is 249 million Baileys. There is very little information about him in the intelligence. Kurosawa's eyes lit up when he heard this. Such a high bounty. Miguel looked solemn and took a fighting stance. Why is my luck so bad today? I encountered 3 supernovas alone. Bad luck. No, Kurosawa has heard the rich echo. Looking at Hawkins, who was still fortune-telling, Kurosawa couldn't help but sigh. He is indeed a guy who can calmly fortune-tell in front of the Admiral of the Navy. He is so calm. If he likes fortune-telling so much. Kurosawa raised his palm and began to make a seal. Phase, jackfruit, pillar of light. Buzz buzz buzz. The constantly condensing curse power even made the earth tremble. Miguel, who was standing by, was even frightened by the condensed power. Is this true? Why does it feel like this move of the boss is more terrifying than the previous one? The red light from Kurosawa's curse power was like a second sun, illuminating the entire square. Hawkins's men were already in a mess, anxiously urging Hawkins to run away as soon as possible. Boss, why don't you run? You will die. However, Hawkins seemed not to hear it, because he had already calculated that he would not die today. Although there were some minor mistakes just now, he was still extremely confident in the results of his divination. Hawkins, it's okay, I won't die. After saying that, Hawkins looked at Kurosawa. Although his cold black pupils were now occupied by red light, he still smiled slightly and said, "The power used by this marine is really similar to mine." Buzz buzz buzz. The full power of the spell reversal he has been formed. Facing a person with abilities like Hawkins, the best way to deal with him is to destroy all his substitutes with one blow. Kurosawa smiled. Spell reversal he. Buzz. A flash of red light, the building where Hawkins was located was instantly submerged. If it weren't for Kurosawa protecting him, Miguel would probably be blown away by the strong wind caused by the explosion. Hey, boss, the power of your move is too amazing. I'm afraid it can destroy a warship. Looking at the explosion caused by Kurosawa, Miguel's eyelids couldn't stop twitching. He widened his eyes and his face was full of shock. The glass of the buildings around the square was shattered. The tall building and the buildings behind it were blown up, raising dust all over the sky. The originally prosperous and lively streets have now become a ruin, and the ground is in a mess. And the group of pirates is even more miserable. Their bodies were blown to pieces, and the blood stained the ground red, as if it was a terrible nightmare. Kurosawa didn't speak, and his figure disappeared on the spot. The next moment, Kurosawa's figure appeared silently in the ruins. Looking at Hawkins, who was safe and sound in front of him, Kurosawa's expression was playful. Your ability is really interesting. At this moment, Hawkins is no longer as calm as before. The sweat that keeps oozing from his forehead has already proved this, but he still pretends to be calm. Your ability and my ability have an inexplicable sense of familiarity. I thought we would be good partners. Quote. Kurosawa. Haha, what makes you deserve to be my partner? Are you worthy? Hawkins. Kurosawa. All the men you brought with you are dead. I'm curious, how many lives do you have left now? Looking at the smile on Kurosawa's face, Hawkins' heart couldn't help but beat wildly. Kurosawa just made an unethical move and killed all his doubles in one go. Now he has no doubles. That is to say, as long as Kurosawa kills him again, he will really die. No, calm down. I don't look like I'm going to die today. After a moment of silence, Hawkins' face suddenly became extremely ferocious. The appearance of conquering demons. Quote, since the stand has blocked the damage, Hawkins is now at full status, and Kurosawa has just released the complete spell reversal He. Although it is not the maximum output, it cannot be used again in a short time. Is this the oppression of the bounty of 249 million Baileys? Looking at the scarecrow in front of him, Kurosawa's face showed a hint of excitement. He flipped his palm lightly, and a dark patterned sharp blade flashing with mysterious light appeared in his hand. The blade is pitch black, and the blade is covered with mysterious dark patterns like hellfire, as if it contains endless power and secrets. The blade is extremely sharp and flashes with cold light, which makes people shudder. Ding! Congratulations to the host for using the Supreme Great Sword level weapon for the first time. Reward: 1 Sword Style Kang 1 Flash LV1. This is sword skills. The moment he held the dark hilt, with the blessing of a natural fighter, all low-level skills were perfectly used by Kurosawa at this moment, and all of them were increased by 75%. Various skills of physical skills and kendo combined into the best fighting method at the moment. And the skills that Kurosawa had just learned through his talent. This knife will be used to the extreme. 1 Knife Flow Kang 1 Flash. The blue light was wrapped around it, the extremely sharp slash plus Kang's amazing tearing power, even the hard claws of the scarecrow were cut off by Kurosawa. This sword combines the armed color domineering, the technique forward rotation Kang, the technique Jia, the sword, and the physical technique, covering most of Kurosawa's skills. With the bonus of the natural fighter, it is not difficult to imagine how powerful it is. Even the scarecrow after Hawkins's demonization is as vulnerable as paper. How is it possible? Under Hawkins's unbelievable eyes, the famous sword and directly cut it in half. Crack! The huge scarecrow's body separated from top to bottom, and Hawkins's scarlet eyes were also dimming rapidly. He didn't know until his death why his divination was wrong, why he had no death sign but ushered in his death today. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing Basil Hawkins and getting a bounty of 24,900 billion points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for achieving the unlocking conditions of the stage achievement reward, the end of the worst generation 3/11. Reward: billion level bounty plus 8,000 points. Normal bounty value: 1,400 points. Billion level bounty value: 42,700 points. Get rich. Kurosawa took an back to the system space and looked at the full bounty value. Kurosawa smiled slightly. His persistence and hard work finally got a huge reward today. System, give me some points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for injecting 10,000 billion level bounty value. The natural fighter is upgraded to LV3. Then how to distribute the remaining 32,700 points? If you have the blessing of the natural fighter, it is best to upgrade to LV3 first, so that the combat power can be brought to the extreme. Thinking of this, Kurosawa no longer hesitated. Ding! Congratulations to the host for injecting 13,000 billion level bounty value. The technique solution is upgraded to LV3. Ding! Congratulations to the host for injecting 13,000 billion level bounty value. Spell Forward Kang upgraded to LV3. Watching his newly enriched balance recede like a tide, Kurosawa couldn't help but feel a pain in his flesh, but he had no choice but to continue to add points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for injecting 3,000 billion level bounty value. Kendo upgraded to LV3. Ding! Congratulations to the host for injecting 1,400 ordinary bounty value and 100 billion level bounty value. Taijutsu upgraded to LV2. Ding! Congratulations to the host for injecting 1,500 billion level bounty value. Armament Hockey upgraded to LV2. Ding! Congratulations to the host for injecting 1,500 billion level bounty value. Aikijirugi Kang Aikishin upgraded to LV2. So far, after Kurosawa's unremitting efforts, the bounty value has only 600 billion level points. It's gone so quickly. Kurosawa looked at the empty balance and couldn't help but feel a headache. He still had so many skills that he hadn't had time to add points. It was still not enough. He had to earn more bounty points. Boss, are you okay? The smoke gradually dissipated, and Miguel couldn't find Kurosawa's figure, so he shouted loudly. Until he saw Kurosawa standing in the ruins and Hawkins broken into 2 pieces under his feet, Miguel fell silent. Holy Land Marihoa. Sengoku stood by the window, looking at the sea with a serious face. The recent chaos is really getting more and more troublesome. Why did it happen at this critical moment? According to the intelligence, there are at least 8 supernovas gathered in Shibuya. These pirates. So many guys with bounties over 100 million suddenly appeared. Now is not a good time to withdraw troops to deal with these fools. I hope Borsellino can bring some good news. Otherwise, the pressure will be too great. Whitebeard. As the news of Ace's execution was made public, the Navy had already begun to mobilize troops frantically, and the 7 warlords of the sea also responded. Shibuya port. Bang. With a cannon shot, a tall figure with yellow stripes stepped on the cannonball and landed safely in the fierce fire. Moses, yo, it's really strange. Borsellino dragged out a long tone and kept calling the unanswered Den Mushi. All the pirates who saw this scene fled in panic. Run, the admiral is coming. At this time in the Sabayati archipelago, the Straw Hat pirates had successfully escaped from the auction and had reached an agreement with Pluto Rayleigh. They were preparing to hide safely in the Sabayati archipelago for 3 days and then set sail for the New World. However, a huge steel body blocked the way of the Straw Hat pirates. Looking at the familiar figure, the Straw Hat pirates, except Luffy, all showed fear and took fighting postures, as if facing a great enemy. Looking at Luffy, who was about to move forward, Sanji hurriedly stopped him. Hey Luffy. Wait a minute. Luffy looked puzzled. What's wrong, Sanji? Do you know this guy? No doubt, this guy is Bartholomew Kuma, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, known as the Tyrant. Robin explained, a drop of cold sweat unconsciously sliding down his forehead. This was the existence that almost wiped out their group. But they obviously didn't know that the tyrant bear in front of them was just a pacifist created by the world government, and its combat power was far less than that of the original one. But even if it was the first generation of pacifists, it was still a powerful boss-level existence for the current Straw Hat pirates. After a hard fight with all members, the 3 strongest members of the Straw Hat pirates finally found the right time. Zoro, Sanji, Luffy shouted, and the cooperation of the King's Wings was beyond words. Devil Wind Kick, the finishing touch shot. Sanji rushed out first, and the fiery wind kick hit the pacifist's head hard. Zoro took the opportunity to chant the moves. Ghost Chi 9 Swords Asura Magic 9 Flash. The violent slash fell on the pacifist, almost cutting off his left shoulder, and then Luffy jumped into the sky. Third gear, giant spinning bomb. Bang! Under the joint attack of the 3 main forces, the pacifist PX-4 was finally scrapped. Is everyone okay? Luffy panted. The battle just now had consumed most of his strength. However, the next second, Luffy saw everyone staring blankly behind him. What's wrong? Just when Luffy was confused, the black-haired, blue-eyed boy spoke lightly. Hey, first meeting. Luffy, be careful. As everyone shouted in unison, Luffy turned his head suddenly, and saw a fist rapidly enlarged in his eyes. Black sparks and blue light alternated. Boom! Luffy's head was punched into the ground by Kurosawa, and the splashed stones burst out with undiminished power, piercing straight into the tree trunk. All the Straw Hat pirates looked at Kurosawa, their eyes flickering, but they all had one thought in their hearts. This suddenly appeared marine is very strong. Chapter 31. The 2 of them were in a mess. Luffy, you fool! Sanji yelled in anger. His left foot stepped on his right foot and rubbed out a blazing flame, and he rushed towards Kurosawa. Kurosawa looked at Luffy, who had lost consciousness, and fell into thought. To be honest, he didn't intend to end this guy's life here. Although the 300 million bounty is very tempting, Luffy's bounty will skyrocket in the future. Besides, Garp has done him a favor, and there is also the sun god Nika who may appear at any time. But should he kill him or not? If Monkey D. Luffy is really killed here, what kind of changes will it cause? He is really curious. After a little thought, Kurosawa's mouth curled up. Ding. The world will fluctuation is detected. Trigger a new life choice. Life choice 1. Kill Monkey D. Luffy, welcome the awakening of the sun god Nika, and survive the battle with the incoming Hades Rayleigh. Reward. The level of Conqueror Haki is increased to LV5. Life choice 2. Severely injure all members of the Straw Hat Pirates, causing Monkey D. Luffy to feel great pain, and successfully survive after the arrival of Hades Rayleigh. Reward. Curse King LV1. Life choice 3. Stop here and say that the Navy is not a group of indiscriminate killers, and gain the respect of the Straw Hat Pirates. Reward. The prestige level is converted to a licking dog level. My sun god. There is also Rayleigh, this copy is a bit beyond the scope. The world will fluctuate. Kurosawa's eyes flickered slightly, no wonder he could detect that Sanji's speed running towards him suddenly increased so much. Is this the influence of the world's will fluctuation? Interesting. Bang! A dull collision sounded, and Sanji looked at Kurosawa in surprise. He actually caught my demonic wind kick with one hand. After a kick pierced Kurosawa's unlimited technique, Sanji's attack power had weakened a lot. Kurosawa could only catch Sanji's kick with the LV2 physical skill bonus. The armament Haki was upgraded to LV2, and he was no longer afraid of the blazing flames of the demonic wind kick at this stage. Without a pause, Kurosawa swung Sanji's calf with his palm. Sanji, who had lost his center in midair, hurried to adjust, but how could Kurosawa give him this opportunity? A blue light appeared in Kurosawa's right fist, and he punched hard with armament Haki and black flash. Black sparks exploded, and a punch hit Sanji's waist, directly hitting him to vomit blood and then flying backwards, smashing a rock and stopping. 1. Next, without even a moment of silence for Sanji, the current strongest 9-sword style Zoro of the Straw Hat Pirates immediately followed. Demon Chi 9-sword style Asura Ikimiri Jin. Zoro quickly finished reading the long string of words. If the 5-star strongest prison warden who was sleeping far away in Shinjuku saw it, he would have to comment on it. If the challenger at the time was not Sukuna but Zoro, he might have been cut in half without even taking out a loan. Clang! The dark red knife blocked Zoro's ultimate move. The latter looked shocked, and even biting the handle of the knife in his mouth did not block his mouth and said, "This is a famous sword. Who are you? How can a mere sergeant in the Navy have such a weapon and strength?" Zoro was shocked. The more he observed, the more he was sure that the grade of Kurosawa's sword was even higher than his Wado Ikimonji. Kurosawa didn't say anything, he was also observing. If Zoro's swordsmanship is converted into levels, it should be LV4 now, which is higher than him. But Zoro is in a very bad state now, while he has many blessings. With a slight smile, Kurosawa said indifferently, "Guys like you who are so overconfident, still want to protect this person who is also overconfident and wants to become the Pirate King." Under the desperate gaze of the Straw Hat Pirates, Kurosawa pressed down the dark in his hand, and then a blood mark appeared in front of Zoro, and blood gushed out in an instant. 2. Zoro! Chopper cried with tears in his eyes. Other members of the Straw Hat Pirates were not idle either, and they launched attacks one after another. Flower! Robin hadn't even raised his hand yet, but a slap on his face interrupted his spell, and then a punch on his lower abdomen made it concave, and he lost consciousness. 3. Robin! Nami's eyes widened in horror. She couldn't imagine how this man could be so close to them in such a short time from such a long distance. As soon as the weather stick spit out a thunder bubble, Kurosawa grabbed it and used it as a weapon. The weapon hit Nami's butt with a stick, and then stepped on her head hard and sank it into the ground. 4. Nami! You fool! Sword tail! Boom! Kurosawa flashed over Brook and punched him into the ground, bringing up a large cloud of dust. 5. Frankie! Wind cannon! Usopp! Look at my ultimate move! 3 consecutive gunpowder stars. The wind cannon suddenly blasted, and Kurosawa calmly stretched out his palm, spell forward Kang. In an instant, a large amount of cursed power condensed into a huge blue ball of light, and Frankie's wind cannon and Usopp's attack went straight to then he was completely drawn in by the suction force. Frankie! What a joke! This is my super wind cannon! Usopp's face was even paler. As Kurosawa's palm moved, the huge blue light ball directly sucked Frankie and Usopp into it. 7. Usopp! Frankie! Everyone. Chopper's eyes couldn't stop crying. He looked at his fallen partner and Kurosawa, who was walking slowly. Do you want to fight this guy? Can you win? After a fierce ideological struggle, Chopper was slapped into the ground just as he was about to take drugs. Chopper. Hearing this weak voice, Kurosawa couldn't help but sigh. Is this the perseverance of a protagonist? The force he just used should have made him unconscious for a long time even if he didn't die. Kurosawa glanced at Luffy, and then stepped on the unconscious Chopper again in Luffy's desperate eyes. No. Boom. 8. Along with the splash of blood, Kurosawa felt Luffy's pupils and heart were shrinking violently. Seeing this, Kurosawa's smile became brighter. Straw Hat Luffy, you are so weak that you can't even protect your partners. Do you still want to become the Pirate King? Another hard step. Boom. Stop it. Stimulated by the threat to his partner's life, Luffy miraculously stood up and staggered towards Kurosawa. Miguel, who was watching the battle, did not speak. Although Kurosawa's methods were a bit cruel, he was a pirate after all, and he deserved to be treated as such. Besides, the boss was really too strong. Monkey D. Luffy, who had a bounty of 300 million, and the notorious Straw Hat Pirates were pinned to the ground by him alone. He is simply a role model for the new era navy. Also watching the battle were Zontaomaru and a pacifist. This guy is so strong that even I may not be his opponent. Zontaomaru remembered that he, Kurosawa, and Miguel had met on the way here. It was right to let this guy take action, so that my pacifist would not be destroyed. Zontaomaru muttered to himself, with admiration for Kurosawa in his eyes. How can a guy who can easily beat up a pirate with a bounty of 300 million berries only have a rank of sergeant? Looking at Luffy coming, Kurosawa raised his hand and condensed Kang to bring Usopp to his hand, and then broke his nose in front of Luffy. Luffy. Ah, what dreams can a guy without strength talk about? Kurosawa punched Luffy into the ground again, and cut down with the dark knife in his hand. The two of them were so close that they were almost in a mess. Shua, a white figure flew close to the ground at a speed that ordinary people could hardly imagine, and then an old leg covered with leg hair stepped on the child and kicked the famous sword in. Clang! The flying slash wrapped in the famous sword and was also kicked off, and it rushed out and cut down a big tree in the distance. Zontaowen and Miguel opened their mouths in astonishment. Who is this old guy? The boss's attack was actually blocked. Ignoring the two astonished people, Rayleigh's reading glasses shone with a cold light, and the corners of his mouth were mixed with a faint smile. First wondered which marine was so murderous, it turns out you are a cheating kid. Kurosawa didn't answer in a hurry, and his blue eyes swept over Rayleigh's slippers. Is this the legendary Supreme Fast Shoes? It's really extraordinary when I saw it today. Hey, long time no see, Pluto Rayleigh. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. Rayleigh's pupils shrank slightly. You know me. Then how dare you cheat me in Venice? People who know his name dare to plot against him, let alone such a young kid. How did he know? Rayleigh was confused. Kurosawa said honestly. Haha, how can you say that? I'm here to help you quit your addiction out of kindness. Haha, kid, you were still breastfeeding when I was playing cards. Since those old guys in the Navy didn't discipline you well, let me teach you today what it means to respect the elderly and love the young. Rayleigh first quickly retracted his foot, and then kicked it out again, this time with even more force. Kurosawa could even feel the extremely strong domineering aura from it. Without saying anything, Kurosawa gathered all his strength and slashed at Rayleigh's supreme fast shoes. One sword flow Kang one flash. Clang! The confrontation between the two instantly burst out with a powerful aura, and the dancing wind blew Rayleigh's white cloak, and Kurosawa's cloak of justice also danced with the wind under this fluctuation. Did I hear correctly? That guy just said that this old man is Pluto Rayleigh. Is he really the Pluto? Zontaowen's eyes became solemn. If the legendary pirate really wanted to intervene, today's situation might become very difficult, or even turn into an unresolved ending. Pluto Rayleigh. That's Pluto Rayleigh, the vice captain of Roger's pirate group. After a brief shock, Miguel's whole body began to tremble violently because of excitement. Boss can actually fight with such a legendary figure without losing. He is worthy of being a man who will definitely become a Navy Marshal. Zontaowen interrupted at this time. You think too simply. Although this kid has extraordinary potential, how can a pirate who can be called Pluto have only this little strength? That's a living legend. On the grass, clang, quote. The friction between the famous sword and Rayleigh's slippers caused sparks to fly. Rayleigh's eyes turned to the famous sword and in Kurosawa's hand, and he became excited, but he said sarcastically, "You are just relying on your youth. You have a good sword but cannot exert its strength. If you want to fight with me, even the great swordsman is not good enough." Quote. Hee, you know that you are about to be buried, so just lie down in the coffin obediently. You are still learning to mess around at your age, and you are not afraid of spraining your waist. As Kurosawa said, his eyes drifted towards Rayleigh's waist with a hint of meaning, and the meaning was self-evident. Hee, you are too young to anger me. Rayleigh laughed, and his feet suddenly exerted force. The sudden burst of power made Kurosawa's arms shake. That powerful force was like a tsunami, which was difficult to stop. Kurosawa was blown away by this force, but there was a smile on his lips. The old man is so anxious now. Rayleigh was about to speak when he saw Kurosawa's face was not panicked at all, but he stretched out his fingers. Kurosawa's body was hanging upside down in the air, his slender fingers quickly formed seals, the cloak of justice on his body fluttered, and his blue eyes burst into amazing brilliance at this moment. Rayleigh was sensitive and immediately noticed something was wrong. His observation hockey was spread out instantly, and he suddenly found that 3 groups of blue lights appeared around him at some point. Phase, dusk, eye of wisdom. Kurosawa in the air quickly chanted the spell, and the seeds of Kang that had been planted before Rayleigh came grew at an accelerated speed at this moment, and were close to the maximum output in a very short time. Upgrade to LV3. The technique of the Kang technique was like a blooming ocean firework, surrounding this living legend. Interesting kid. Before being submerged by the blue light burst from Kang, Rayleigh keenly sensed the power contained in the blue light ball, left such a sentence with a smile on his face, and then was completely submerged by the blue light. More interesting things are still to come. Kurosawa's eyes turned cold. If Rayleigh had directly burst out his strength, his moves would basically not have much effect. But the strong men in One Piece are not all red-haired. He came up with a 3 billion worth of divine evasion. What's more, he was fighting against a fledgling naval sergeant, so Rayleigh would naturally not open fire at full power. Like to show off, right? Stinky old man. Kurosawa fell back to the ground. Under the defense of the unlimited technique, the strong wind on the field did not affect him at all. He quickly formed seals with his palms, and the scarlet light was extremely dazzling even on the battlefield ravaged by blue light. Phase, jackfruit, pillar of light. Technique reversal maximum output. This blow, even if you are Pluto Rayleigh, will not be easy. Buzz buzz buzz. Technique reversal is like a sword of God, instantly piercing out. The dazzling red and white light once again became the main color of the battlefield, and a violent roar followed. After the people in the distance were enveloped by red and white light, they heard extremely violent explosions. The 2 main trunks that supported the Sabayati archipelago were opened with amazing holes. With the sound of creaking, the 200-meter-high trees that formed the Sabayati archipelago fell down. This scene naturally could not escape the eyes of the supernovas scattered across the Sabayati archipelago. Akahata Drake. Such an attack. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be done by the Admiral of the Navy, right? Is it Akainu or Kizaru? In any case, we have to hurry up with the plan. Trafalgar Law. What an amazing attack. If the opponent of such an attack is us, I can't imagine it. Even the always arrogant Eustace Kid was silent after seeing such power, and just clenched his fists secretly. Capone Beige. Is it the Admiral of the Navy? That idiot Straw Hat actually provoked such a guy. Even my big boss will be crushed by this blow. Joelle Bonny stared at the explosion absent-mindedly, and for a moment even forgot to chew the chicken leg in her hand. Borsellino. Oh, things seem to be getting a little tricky. Borsellino finally gave up calling the unanswered Den Den Mushi, and his eyes could not see clearly what he was thinking under the cover of sunglasses. Yashikagami. The golden light gathered into a mirror, and then the body turned into light particles, rapidly approaching the direction of the attack. The enemy was in a state of panic. Be careful, PX7. The maximum output of the reversal technique, was so powerful that even Zontawan and Miguel, who were watching from a distance, were affected. The violent energy impact spread out in all directions like a raging storm, and the two of them couldn't help but widen their eyes and show astonishment on their faces. As the reversal technique, was launched, a powerful wind of power swept in, and this wind carried a sharp breath, as if it was going to tear everything into pieces. Zon Taowen and Miguel's skin was scratched by the wind, and they had to squint their eyes to avoid being blinded by the wind and sand. What a terrible power, Miguel whispered in a low voice. He tightly grasped the weapon in his hand, his palm even trembled slightly because of excitement. Zon Taowen frowned, staring at the battlefield in the distance with a serious look. They realized that this battle had far exceeded their expectations. Fortunately, Zon Taowen ordered the pacifist PX-7 to block himself and Miguel in time, so that they did not suffer too much damage. Boom boom. The violent explosion gradually subsided, and Zon Taowen was now horrified. What's wrong with this kid? Hey, with such an explosion, even a pacifist would be destroyed in an instant. The cost of a pacifist is no less than that of a warship, and this kid surpassed it so easily. What a joke. Miguel's heart was also stirred up at this moment, but when he thought that this was a move made by his own boss, the dark face a proud smile appeared on his face. You are worthy of being the boss. On the field, Kurosawa was hovering in the air at this time, and his 6 eyes could see Rayleigh, who was in a somewhat embarrassed state, through the smoke and dust. Kuros curled his lips. Old man, I told you a long time ago that you can't afford to get hurt at your age. In the intense smoke, a flash of horror flashed in Rayleigh's turbid eyes. Kendo is about to enter the realm of a great swordsman, and he has even mastered domineering. What's more shocking is that he can launch such a powerful attack at this age, which is beyond imagination. Even those who were once called monsters, now standing on the throne of the sea and known as the Emperor of the Sea, are no more than this at this age, right? Thinking of this, Rayleigh couldn't help but take a deep breath and looked up at the sky. With the release of his observation hockey, he could sense the inexplicable power surrounding Kurosawa. It was a kind of power that he had never seen before in his long time of riding the sea. The move just now was made up of this kind of power. Even the elite vice admirals of the Navy headquarters could never do this. As the smoke gradually dissipated, Zon Taomaru and Miguel both widened their eyes. The white-haired figure in the pit actually had blood flowing from the corner of his mouth at this time, and even his clothes were a little torn. Kurosawa actually injured Rayleigh. He is a living legend. This is incredible. Ahem. Rayleigh coughed a few times and wiped the blood from his mouth carelessly. I admit that you are indeed a rare genius. It's a pity for a guy like you to join the Navy. Zon Taowen was stunned when he heard this, and couldn't help but said, I didn't hear it wrong. Even Pluto Rayleigh praised this kid as a genius. You know, it is self-evident that a living fossil who has seen the world's peak can say such words. Miguel just grinned, showing a mouthful of white teeth. You are worthy of being the boss. So, if you don't join the Navy, do you want to be a pirate? Kurosawa's pupils flashed slightly. After the 6 eyes against the sky were upgraded to LV3, his perception has reached an extremely subtle level. Not to mention the slightest movement, even the sound of blood flowing can be felt by him. At this time, an amazing force is surging in Pluto Rayleigh's body. If it breaks out, its power is absolutely unimaginable. A new era naval genius. If you die here, I'm sure those old guys in the Navy will have a headache. Rayleigh's old face was covered with a smile, and the lenses of his silver glasses reflected light slightly. Looking at Rayleigh's faint smile, Kurosawa felt a hint of murderous intent. Just a hint of it has instantly lowered the temperature on the field. Kurosawa could even sense that Zon Taomaru and Miguel, who were watching the game from a distance, were shocked by Rayleigh's murderous intent. Their breathing could not help but stagnate, but they themselves might not have noticed. Are you going to get serious, old man? Kurosawa was not afraid but laughed, holding the arm of the famous sword and slowly exerted force, and the spirit of the whole body was mobilized to the peak by him at this moment. The next second, Shua, the domineering spirit burst, and with a sound, Rayleigh's figure turned into a residual image, and a fierce gust of wind was raised wherever his figure passed, like a silver bullet, shooting straight into the air. Rayleigh's movement was so fast that Zon Taowen and Miguel had no time to react. When he appeared again, Rayleigh's figure was in front of Kurosawa. Under the violent domineering shock, the unlimited technique with a level of only LV2 was directly broken. Rayleigh raised the long sword in his right hand, and then slashed it down. Kurosawa's pupils were shrill. This speed. Sky Cloud Sword. Buzz. Clang. A golden long sword blocked the attack of Pluto Rayleigh, and the dazzling golden light shone on the silver glasses. Rayleigh saw the person who blocked his attack and sneered, "You little devil are quite fast now, Kizaru. Wow, it's so scary. I didn't expect that the dignified Pluto Rayleigh would be so cruel to a Marine sergeant." Borsalino responded with a fake smile. The old man is finally here. Seeing the tall figure with yellow stripes, Zon Taowen couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and at the same time couldn't help but complain and shout. "Old man, why are you so slow? PX4 is scrapped. How can I write a report to Vegapunk when you go back?" General Borsalino. Miguel was a little excited. He didn't expect to see the battle between the general and Pluto today. It was so exciting. "Hey, long time no see, General Borsalino." Kurosawa looked at Borsalino, who blocked a blow for him and greeted him with a smile. "You are the Kurosawa who made a big fuss in the training camp, right? I didn't expect you to have grown to this point, it's really scary." Borsalino responded with a slight turn of his eyes. "There is no way, the opponent is Pluto Rayleigh, even he has to be alert to deal with it. You dare to be distracted while fighting with me, you really don't take me seriously." Rayleigh sneered, and the sharp blade in his hand instantly burst out with terrifying sword power. Borsalino would naturally not wait to die on the spot. Although the pension for death in battle is very tempting, he has not received enough social insurance and housing fund. Clang, clang, clang. In the blink of an eye, the two top powerhouses started several rounds of collisions, and neither of them took advantage. Seeing this, Kurosawa dodged and quietly came to Luffy's side. Looking at the guy lying on the ground with no power to resist, Kurosawa smiled slightly. If Rayleigh had not been revoked of the bounty by the Navy, he would have tried it even at great risk. "Rayleigh, the purpose of your trip is for Straw Hat Luffy, right?" As Kurosawa's voice came out, Rayleigh's face changed. The sharp sword is now on Luffy's neck. Rayleigh, who has felt its sharpness at close range, has no doubt that as long as Kurosawa's arm swings slightly, Luffy's head will fall to the ground in an instant. "What do you want to do, kid?" Rayleigh said with an ugly face. Kurosawa looked at Rayleigh with a smile and said, "Put down your weapons and surrender, I won't kill him." At the same time, Kurosawa was secretly observing Borsalino's actions. A question that has troubled him for a long time may have an answer today. "Kizaru, are you an undercover agent of the Revolutionary Army?" The two of them were caught in a fight. Rayleigh didn't say anything, and the atmosphere at the scene fell into a stalemate. Miguel looked at Kurosawa with admiration at this time. "You are worthy of being the boss. You can actually threaten Pluto Rayleigh." Zon Taomaru's face was serious. Apart from anything else, if Rayleigh hadn't been arrested today, Kurosawa would definitely be targeted by him. If such a vicious and powerful pirate holds a grudge against him, I dare not imagine how nervous my life will be in the future. Rayleigh stared at Kurosawa and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. "It's been so many years, how long has it been since I saw such a stunning young man, even Straw Hat Luffy, who just made bold statements in front of him and said the same words as Captain Roger back then. Now he is being trampled under the feet of this young Marine. It has been 23 years since Roger's death, and there is less and less news about the One Piece treasure. Some people have even begun to question the authenticity of the treasure, and with the continuous suppression of the Navy, the wave of pirates has been suppressed faintly. Now at this juncture, the Navy has appeared such a talented young man. Is the era of pirates that Captain Roger opened at the cost of his own life going to end here?" In an instant, Rayleigh seemed to have seen the near future in Kurosawa, the sea that was suppressed by the Navy and returned to calm. "Boy, you are playing with fire." After a moment, Rayleigh's mouth opened a little, and a cold killing intent instantly enveloped the whole scene. Miguel and Zon Taomaru suddenly felt as if they were falling into a cold cave. The murderous intent emanating from Pluto Rayleigh, which was almost condensed into substance, was like the extreme cold deep in the sea, pressing them so hard that they couldn't breathe. Drops of cold sweat penetrated Miguel's back. This is the murderous aura that is almost condensed into substance. So scary. This is just the situation where he is not targeted. It is hard to imagine what kind of pressure the boss is facing. Borsellino, who was closest, just stared at Rayleigh. His eyes seemed to be flickering slightly, and I don't know what he was thinking. Feeling the undisguised murderous intent, Kurosawa's smile turned cold. When he was about to take action, a tall figure appeared behind him. If you want to travel, where would you choose? A voice that seemed to be emotionless sounded, and Kurosawa's brows slowly frowned. It was so fast. Bartholomew Kuma. The 7 warlords of the sea are here too. Miguel couldn't help but exclaimed when he saw the person behind Kurosawa. The big man he met today was really too unexpected. This time, Zon Taomaru looked at Tyrant Bear, his eyes narrowed, and he didn't say anything. Hey, what are you trying to do? To everyone's surprise, Kurosawa actually pointed the blade at Tyrant Bear. I can take care of these guys. You are a Shichibukai, so there seems to be no need to compete with me, a Marine Sergeant, for the credit, right? Seeing Kurosawa's actions, Miguel couldn't help but be shocked. Hey, boss, you don't want to do anything to this guy, do you? That's one of the Shichibukai. But Miguel thought carefully. Kurosawa picked up the entire training camp on the first day of joining the Navy, and even beat Vice Admiral Huo Shaoshan so badly. Just now, he killed 3 members of the worst generation, single-handedly defeated the Straw Hat Pirates, and even injured the legendary pirate Pluto Rayleigh. Super ruthless. In this way, whatever the boss does is reasonable. Seeing the appearance of Bartholomew Kuma, Borsellino did not speak, but just confronted Pluto Rayleigh, but the two of them were obviously not thinking about each other. Borsellino's eyes flickered slightly. If he saw it correctly, before he arrived, Kurosawa's fighting power had already injured Pluto Rayleigh. Through the previous fight, Borsellino already knew that even if Pluto Rayleigh was not at his peak, his fighting power should not be underestimated. Otherwise, with his monster-level fighting power of the Admiral, even a pirate with a bounty of 1 billion would not last long in his hands. But in the previous confrontation, Pluto Rayleigh was even on par with him, which shows how strong he is. It seems that it has not been long since the last training camp incident. The growth rate of this kid is really too amazing. The Black Hand stroked the book in his hand. Facing Kurosawa's questioning, Bartholomew Kuma flashed after a brief silence. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Luffy, and then he slapped him directly. Then, under Kurosawa's stunned gaze, he slapped the Straw Hat Pirates members one by one. Don't even pretend. In front of everyone, after all the members of the Straw Hat Pirates disappeared, Bartholomew Kuma spoke. These are extremely vicious criminals. If you deal with them, the risk factor is too high. In order to protect your safety, the loss has been minimized. It will be better for me to do it. After saying that, facing Kurosawa's eyes, Bartholomew Kuma added, I won't take the credit for killing them. You can take the credit as usual. Kurosawa's mouth twitched, looking at Borsellino with an expressionless face in the distance. He had figured everything out. Maybe others don't know Bartholomew Kuma's ability, but Borsellino definitely knows. As an admiral of the Navy, Bartholomew Kuma has been transformed by Vegapunk, and he is also a Shichibukai recruited by the Navy. There is no reason for Borsellino not to know Tyrant Bear's ability, and there is no reason for him not to know that Tyrant Bear's actions just now definitely did not kill anyone in the Straw Hat Pirates. Good man, you just watched and let the Straw Hat Pirates escape, didn't you? So Miguel was the only one on the scene. Okay, I'll see how you report to Sengoku then. He remembered that Kizaru had just captured 500 pirates in the Sabayati archipelago to deal with the matter. Kurosawa smiled. Thank you, I'll remember this favor, Tyrant Bear. Seeing that the incident had been settled, Rayleigh stepped aside, staring at Kurosawa with murderous eyes. Kid, I've remembered your appearance, too, I hope your luck will always be this good. Then the figure disappeared, and Borsellino did not stop it. Miguel was puzzled. Why didn't the Admiral pursue the victory? That's Pluto Rayleigh, a pirate who is extremely harmful to the world. Bartholomew Kuma. The price to pay for pursuing this level of combat power is too high. Besides, the Navy withdrew the wanted order for Rayleigh many years ago, and now is not the time to waste combat power on him. Kurosawa naturally didn't believe these explanations. Although there was some truth, it was not the case if you think about it carefully. Kurosawa. Miguel, gather the team. Miguel. Yes, boss. Ding. Congratulations to the host for making Monkey D. Luffy feel great pain and successfully survive the hands of Pluto Rayleigh. Reward. Curse King LV1. The skill Curse King has been activated. Under the effect of the skill, the host has automatically comprehended the skill. The old man was very happy, and the old man was very happy. Navy Headquarters, Marineford. In the office, Huo Shaoshan sat at his desk. Gion, Kaji, how come you have time to come to me? After saying that, Huo Shaoshan subconsciously touched his stubble, and couldn't help but smile after feeling the smooth touch. Because his beard was burned by Kurosawa, Huo Shaoshan now has to shave his beard every day, otherwise the new beard will be too ugly and damage his image. Haha, just wandering around. Gion said perfunctorily. She couldn't just say that she couldn't find Kurosawa, so she wanted to ask now. Just when Gion was about to speak after thinking for a long time, there was a knock on the door. Huo Shaoshan. Come in. Report to Lieutenant General Huo Shaoshan, I am Kobe. This time I have something important to report to you. Kobe saluted, and after recovering from his illness, he came as soon as possible to report to Kurosawa. Because he fainted that day, Kobe did not see the faces of Gion and Kaji. Kaji glanced at the pink-haired kid. Wasn't he punished by Gion to clean the toilet that day? Why did he come here? Gion also remembered it, and his face was a little unhappy. At this time, Bala Bala Bala, Bahia, Huo Shaoshan reached out and answered, Sorry Gion, business is more important. It's okay. You go first. Gion glanced at Kobe with some complaints. If it weren't for this soldier interrupting, she would have asked where Kurosawa was. He ruined her business again. I'll make him continue to clean the toilet later. Oh no, he can be a human sandbag. Huo Shaoshan watched the originally white Den Den Mushi turn black immediately. He didn't need to listen to know who was on the other end of the Den Den Mushi. What the hell, is that Vice Admiral Huo Shaoshan? I'm Miguel. Listening to the full-throated voice of the Den Den Mushi, he must have been uninjured. Huo Shaoshan smiled and said, How was the mission? Miguel. Report to Vice Admiral Huo Shaoshan, in this Sabayati Archipelago pirate riot, 89 pirates were killed on the spot and 31 pirates were captured. Among them, a pirate with a bounty of 9 million Baileys was killed on the spot by Sergeant Kurosawa, and the riot was successfully resolved. Hearing this, Huo Shaoshan smiled slightly, You did a good job. Gion frowned when he heard this. He went on a mission. No wonder no one was seen in the training camp. Kobe's face tightened. Kurosawa, that carefree guy, actually killed a pirate with a bounty of 9 million Baileys on the spot. Could the rumor be true? Miguel continued. After completing the mission, Sergeant Kurosawa encountered a pirate who was looking for trouble, Ibuprofen Duenkin. Kobe. Duenkin, I have some impression of him. He is a pirate with a bounty of 22 million Baileys. Miguel. Then Sergeant Kurosawa shot him dead. In addition to him, there was another pirate on the field, Nyakuru Kiwang. It was Kurosawa who discovered his disguise. Nyakuru Kiwang, the cyborg with a bounty of 36 million Baileys. The danger level of that guy is quite terrible. If I lead the team, the only wise thing to do is to avoid the sharp edge. Kobe looked serious when he heard this, thinking as if facing a great enemy. Huo Shaoshan just nodded slightly. A pirate with a bounty of 30 million yuan is indeed a great threat. For a sergeant of Miguel's level, it is still too difficult to deal with. Miguel. Then Sergeant Kurosawa subdued him and killed him on the spot. Kobe was shocked when he heard it, and clenched his fists. What? Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Huo Shaoshan was stunned for a moment. Well done. Gion's mouth curled up slightly. How could the man she liked be weak? Kaji didn't think so. For him, such a pirate with a bounty of tens of millions is not a big deal, and it's not even worthy of him, a candidate general, to take action. But after hearing Miguel's next words, Kaji's eyes changed a little. In addition, when patrolling Fengqing Street this morning, Sergeant Kurosawa and I met a member of the worst generation. The worst generation. They are all pirates with bounties of over 100 million. The risk factor is ridiculously high. We must report and request support as soon as possible. A drop of cold sweat slid down Kaji's forehead. Just hearing it already made him feel so oppressive. He couldn't imagine how terrible it would be when he faced it in person. The worst generation. It's worth my effort. Kaji smiled confidently. He thought that Kurosawa would definitely not be the opponent of pirates of this level. Gion's pretty face showed worry. Did you meet the worst generation? This pirate with a bounty of over 100 million is too dangerous for you, even if I... No, wait. Huo Shaoshan, who was a little excited after hearing this, keenly noticed something out of place. What did you just say? You went to Fengqing Street to patrol early in the morning. Are you sure you went there early in the morning? Miguel swallowed his saliva and said with a stiff face, yes, Vice Admiral Huo Shaoshan. Gion, Kaji, Huo Shaoshan. Kobe was a little confused. Is this the key point? After a short silence, Miguel continued, the one in the evil era is Skullachima Napu. Kobe's eyes shone after hearing this, and then he recalled. Bailey, with a bounty of 198 million, is a devil fruit user with sonic attack. This fruit ability kills people invisibly and can produce large-scale explosions. The degree of danger is extremely high. I'm afraid that only a colonel, no, only a major general can lead a team to compete with him. I can do it alone. Kaji said proudly, and then he looked at Gion quietly, wanting to see the latter's reaction. Unexpectedly, Gion didn't care about him at all, but asked, is Kurosawa not injured? Miguel heard this familiar voice and immediately recalled, report to Lieutenant General Gion, Sergeant Kurosawa was not injured, and he immediately notified the garrison to come to support. Everyone nodded and said it was reasonable. After all, it was wise to call for support when the strength was insufficient. But Kaji said proudly that if he was there, there would be no need to go through so much trouble. Huo Shaoshan, what does this guy want to do in the Sabayati archipelago? Have you figured out his intentions? No. Quote, hearing Miguel's self-righteousness, Huo Shaoshan was about to speak when Miguel continued, Sergeant Kurosawa immediately flew over and killed him. Because of the rush of time, when I arrived, the supernova had already fallen to the ground, and I didn't have time to ask. This is too impulsive. I thought he was still a little rational, but I didn't expect. Wait, what did you say? Killed. Kobe clapped his hands and then looked annoyed, but he quickly reacted to the second half of Miguel's words, and his expression gradually became more exciting. Quote. What? Kurosawa killed that guy? Huo Shaoshan also stood up from the stool suddenly, and his tone suddenly increased a few points. Kaji was a little surprised, killed a supernova. That guy must be seriously injured. Quote. Hearing Cake's words, Kobe was obviously relieved. This is in line with common sense. If it's a seriously injured supernova, he can go up too. Huo Shaoshan also agreed with this. Gion didn't rush to express his opinion, just let Miguel continue. According to observation, the supernova was alive and kicking at the time, and should be in good condition. A casual blow could kill a group of pursuers. After listening to Miguel's supplement, everyone fell silent. Kobe's cheeks kept twitching. He couldn't believe this was the truth. He could kill a supernova head-on. Even if he worked hard for another 2 years, he might not be able to do it. Why is this sloppy guy so strong? Kobe secretly clenched his fists and exerted more force. Gion's eyes flashed, it's really Kurosawa. He is so handsome and so powerful. He is simply the perfect successor to the future general. Quote. Cake was so angry when he saw Gion's crazy look. Tisk, just a supernova, Cake, can do it just as easily. Hiss. Huo Shaoshan took a deep puff of cigarette and slowly regained his composure. It's hard to imagine that Kurosawa is just a new recruit who has joined the Navy for less than a month, as he can kill a pirate with a bounty of nearly 200 million. Monster, definitely a monster. But when he thought that this monster is now a Navy, Huo Shaoshan couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth. Ha ha ha, great. With this achievement, Kurosawa can be promoted to second lieutenant when he comes back this time. Let me write the reasons for his promotion. After that, Huo Shaoshan was about to hang up the phone, and Miguel hurriedly said, Vice Admiral Huo Shaoshan, I have something to report. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Huo Shaoshan slapped his forehead. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the attack on the world nobles. Miguel, this incident broke out not long after the killing of Skuruchima Napu. Later, when Sergeant Kurosawa and I went to support, we met another evil generation. The strange monk Ulki. Huo Shaoshan raised his eyebrows, and the corners of his mouth gradually sank. What? Met another evil generation? Everyone present was shocked. It was not a good thing for a mere sergeant in the navy to encounter pirates of this level one after another. Strange monk Ulji, the bounty on that guy is 180 million berries. But the danger level is not low at all. Kobe was worried on the surface, but secretly delighted in his heart. In his opinion, no matter how strong Kurosawa is, he will definitely pay a heavy price if he encounters supernova-level opponents continuously. You just experienced a fierce battle. Since the opponent did not harm civilians, you should avoid it first. After listening to Miguel's words, in Huo Shaoshan's opinion, although Kurosawa is very strong, it still takes a fierce battle to kill a pirate of this level, so it will inevitably consume a lot of physical strength. After all, even if he is, it is impossible to retain complete physical strength after taking down a member of the evil generation. If Kurosawa encounters another evil generation at this time, he may not be a match. As expected, after hearing this news, Gion's face once again showed a trace of worry. Seeing this, Kaji took the opportunity to boast, "Don't worry, Gion. Even if there are 100 little pirates like this, they are definitely not my opponent. I will definitely protect you." Gion interrupted Kaji's speech directly, "Shut up. Go on, is Kurosawa okay?" "Miguel. Don't worry, Vice Admiral Gion. The strange monk Ulki took the initiative to attack us, and was killed on the spot by Sergeant Kurosawa." Then another evil generation appeared. Kobe, Kaji, Gion. After a moment of silence, except for Gion, 2 question marks appeared on the heads of the others. Huo Shaoshan said in surprise, You mean? Kurosawa killed another supernova after killing one. The weird monk Yoroj with a bounty of 180 million baileys, and then you met another one. Kobe couldn't believe it, his voice trembled, "This is impossible. How could he have the strength to kill 2 supernovas? They are a group of pirates known as the worst generation." Miguel's words obviously exceeded Kaji's expectations. Although he boasted that he could kill 100 supernovas, if he really talked about his strength. To deal with 2 pirates with a bounty of nearly 200 million in a row, at least a lieutenant general level strongman from the headquarters would be dispatched to take them down steadily. Doesn't it mean that this little Kurosawa has the strength of a lieutenant general of the headquarters now? It's really Kurosawa. The man I like will definitely become a Navy admiral in the future. Gion's eyes were shining at this time, and he did not hide his love. This made Kaji on the side very unhappy, and his face was twisted together, but he could do nothing about it. Miguel. Yes, Vice Admiral Huo Shaoshan. The next to appear is Basil Hawkins from the worst generation, and then Sergeant Kurosawa uses the same move that defeated you in the training camp to kill him instantly. What? Basil Hawkins. He is a pirate with a bounty of 249 million baileys, and even among the supernovas, he is ranked very high in bounty. He was killed instantly by Kurosawa. Kobe felt like the sky was falling at this moment. Even if he was given a few more years, it would be difficult for him to achieve such great achievements. Cake said nothing, but became more silent. The light in Gion's eyes became brighter and brighter, and even his face became a little ruddy. Hearing this, Huo Shaoshan recalled the feeling of his face flushed that day. Hawkins, whose bounty was as high as 249 million, was also killed in an instant, but he survived, which shows how powerful he is. Huo Shaoshan said happily. He killed 3 members of the evil generation in a row, ha ha ha. Kurosawa can at least be promoted to Major after returning this time. Major, Lieutenant General Huo Shaoshan, I now doubt whether you have maliciously suppressed new recruits. Gion shouted immediately, pointing his white finger at Huo Shaoshan with a bad face. You know, a pirate with a bounty of nearly 200 million has committed serious crimes and slaughtered countless civilians. And Kurosawa killed 3 such pirates in a row. At least he should be promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. Otherwise, it will disappoint countless Marines who have sacrificed their lives and shed their blood. Looking at the somewhat excited Gion, Huo Shaoshan also waved his hand and said, Gion, don't be excited. I am confused for a while. He should be promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. Humph. Gion snorted coldly and crossed his arms. Huo Shaoshan was a little helpless. Gion's identity was quite special. If she really got angry, he would be in trouble. The mouth of the Den Den Mushi continued to open and close. Miguel paused and added, however, the move used by Sergeant Kurosawa seems to be more powerful each time. Later we met all the members of the Straw Hat Pirates. Quote, Straw Hat Pirates. It's Senior Luffy. Kobe's eyes widened in surprise, and he realized that he had let the cat out of the bag and hurriedly covered his mouth. Fortunately, no one paid attention to Kobe's speech. Hearing that it was the Straw Hat Pirates, Huo Shaoshan's face was a little solemn. It is a rare elite pirate group. After just a few months of debut, they first defeated the Arlong Pirates, then committed evil in Alabasta, and even defeated Crocodile, who is below the 7 warlords of the sea. The Judicial Island incident is also the same. Even Rob Lucci, who is known as the strongest genius of the world government in 800 years, was defeated by the Straw Hats. And its members are still growing stronger while doing evil. Such vicious pirates. At this time, Kobe wanted to argue that Senior Luffy was not that kind of person. But unfortunately, if Kobe, who has no strength, really dared to say that, the best outcome would be to stay in the toilet until the end of time, and it is more likely that he would be dragged out and shot on the spot. Even Kaji and Gion have heard of the reputation of the Straw Hat Pirates. Kaji smiled slightly. Such a Straw Hat Pirates is indeed very threatening, but it is still not as good as Kaji's. Miguel. Sergeant Kurosawa did not say a word after meeting the Straw Hat Pirates. He first punched their captain Monkey D. Luffy to the ground, causing him to lose his combat effectiveness. What? Senior Luffy was knocked down with one punch. This is impossible. Senior Luffy is so strong. Quote. Kobe roared in his heart, still unable to believe that the man who was invincible in his eyes and led him to join the Navy would be defeated by Kurosawa. One punch knocked him down. Could it be that the boy has learned hockey? Otherwise, I remember that his physical fitness is not enough to reach this level of strength. Huo Shaoshan was thoughtful after hearing this. Miguel. Hockey. I think your inference is reasonable, Vice Admiral Huo Shaoshan. And from my observation, Sergeant Kurosawa seems to be stronger when facing a strong opponent in battle. Kurosawa has realized hockey in such a short time. He is worthy of being the first genius of the Navy. Gion said with shining eyes. Cake also wanted to take the opportunity to praise himself after hearing this, but when he thought of the age when he learned hockey, he silently closed his mouth. Miguel. The remaining members of the Straw Hat Pirates wanted to step forward to rescue the captain, but they were knocked down one by Sergeant Kurosawa. The whole process was very fast, just like beating a chicken without any effort. Quote. Kibi was numb after hearing this, and sweat had already stained his palms. Miguel became excited as he spoke. The climax is coming soon. The two of them were so excited that they had to wait for the next few days. Now, hearing this, the people on the other end of the Den Den Mushi couldn't sit still. And Miguel seemed to feel the unusual atmosphere, and he couldn't help but feel proud. He didn't rush to speak, but paused deliberately. Oh, defeating Straw Hat Luffy with a bounty of 300 million is not the climax. Huo Shaoshan's curiosity was completely aroused. What happened next? Gion listened attentively. She really wanted to know how brilliant Kurosawa's performance was. Kaji said impatiently. Hurry up, why are you still keeping us in suspense? Miguel continued. Sergeant Kurosawa defeated all the members of the Straw Hat Pirates, not only physically but also psychologically. Then, when Sergeant Kurosawa was about to behead Monkey D. Luffy on the spot, a person no one expected appeared. Who? Did they have accomplices? Huo Shaoshan was puzzled when he heard this. Kaji couldn't help but be curious. Gion frowned. Which blind guy dared to ruin Kurosawa's good deeds at this time? Kobe also didn't want his senior Luffy to be beheaded, let alone beheaded by Kurosawa, so he listened carefully. Based on the changes in the form of the Den Den Mushi, Miguel could guess the reactions of the people on the other end of the Den Den Mushi, and he was slightly proud in his heart, so he said word by word. Pluto. Silva's Rayleigh. Quote. The conversation fell into silence, and Miguel looked at the Den Den Mushi's mouth that kept opening and smiled slightly. Pluto Rayleigh. Are you sure? It's the right wrist of the Pirate King Roger, Rayleigh. Huo Shaoshan was a little unsure, and his voice became trembling. Gion's eyes were filled with deep solemnity and worry. That living legend would actually take action at this point. Isn't Kurosawa in danger? Kaji's face was also solemn. Facing the former peak powerhouse on this sea, even he didn't dare to say that he was sure of victory. In Kaji's opinion, Kurosawa had offended such a person, and it was estimated that he was dead now. He would soon hear the news of Kurosawa's death. How to comfort Gion? How about giving him a warm embrace from Lieutenant General Kaji? Kobe tried hard to suppress the joy in his expression. Although he didn't know why Pluto Rayleigh would help Senior Luffy, it didn't matter. The important thing was that Kurosawa could never be the opponent of Pluto Rayleigh. He couldn't even take a single move. In other words, Kurosawa was going to die. Gion said anxiously, "What's the situation?" "Go on." Miguel laughed. "Relax, Vice Admiral Gion, Sergeant Kurosawa didn't lose a hair during this operation." Kirby was a little surprised when he heard this. What does this mean? Did Kurosawa evaporate directly? Others were also puzzled, and then Miguel's next sentence answered their doubts. Sergeant Kurosawa first blocked Rayleigh's sneak attack with an amazing reaction, and then in a short fight, he beat Pluto Rayleigh to vomit blood. Quote. Hiss. What did you say? Beat that Pluto Rayleigh to vomit blood? How is this possible? Are you sure that person is really Silver's Rayleigh? Kaji roared directly. In fact, he had seen Rayleigh's strength before. It is no exaggeration to say that if he met Rayleigh at the age of 18, he would be completely crushed by the opponent with a one-finger advantage. Lieutenant General Kaji, that man holds a famous sword, has silver hair, and a scar on his eye. He also fought hard with General Borsellino who came over. There is no mistake. Miguel added, "What? This is simply..." Kaji was speechless and stepped back. Gion's beautiful red lips opened. Obviously he didn't expect Kurosawa to be so brave. Kobe's face was as pale as wax. He didn't understand why the gap between him and Kurosawa became so huge just because he had been sweeping the toilet for a few days. It was like a natural chasm that could not be crossed. Quote. Ha ha ha. Kurosawa. Good boy, I'm going to call Marshal Zangwo. We'll talk next time. If you have anything to say, please go back first. Huo Shaoshan laughed at the sudden good news, and then his expression became serious. No, I have to go to see Marshal Zangwo in person. On the blue sea, a huge warship moved forward quickly. Kurosawa stood on the deck, the sea breeze blew his black hair. Breathing gently, the blue in the eyes seems to overlook the entire blue sea. The harvest this time is actually quite good. The corner of Kurosawa's lips curled up. With his current strength, even if he didn't use all his methods, he could still fight even the elite lieutenant general of his headquarters. King of Curses LV1 increase the output of curses by 50%. Curse attacks carry curse effects, reducing healing by 50%, increasing pain by 200%. Understand the core of curses. Skill comments. Make the world feel pain. The King of the Curse even allowed Kurosawa to directly unlock Gojo Prison Master's ultimate move, Shushiki-si, as well as Lao Ni's Technique 8, Secret Art Kai, and the Field, Demon Suppressing Cook. Although the current skill levels are all LV1, their power cannot be underestimated. For example, the current virtual form Shing is 3 times more powerful than the combination of Jujutsu Shift Kang and Jujutsu Reversal He. If you continue to increase the level of virtual style Shing, the multiplier will increase exponentially. But the bounty value that needs to be consumed is also quite terrifying. The maximum output of reversal of the spell alone was enough to injure Pluto Rayleigh, and at the same time blow up 2 giant trees in Shampoo Land, multiplying its power by 3 times. That scene. The reason why the Admiral can be called a monster is because of his destructive power, which to ordinary people is like a natural disaster. Just like Kizaru's light speed kick, one kick creates a supernova, and the other kick breaks a giant tree. This is already the top performance of combat power in this sea. And now Kurosawa also possesses this level of destructive power. In other words, to a certain extent, Kurosawa is already qualified to compete with the top warriors in this sea. However, in terms of physical skills, Kurosawa now urgently needs to improve, and the simultaneous improvement of swordsmanship and prison skills is also imminent. With the blessing of the heaven-defying 6 eyes, his speed is quite acceptable in a short period of time. Kurosawa is now equivalent to a crispy high-speed moving mage. The destructive power is enough, but he may encounter high bursts. For example, like Shanks, one move will still kill him. Physical skills. Kurosawa murmured to himself, and a tall yellow striped figure slowly walked over. Hey, Kurosawa-kun, you are here. The Shichibukai conference is about to be held. Marshal Sengoku asked me to ask you, are you willing to go? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.